Everyone, good morning. You have reached the Human K channel. Today, we are going to learn more about fascinating ideas and his groundbreaking work on cognitive development. Vygotsky was born in Russia in 1896, and he became a well-known psychologist and sociologist. Vygotsky's method focuses on how social interaction and cognitive growth work together. He thought that people and cultural tools, like language and shared experiences, were what moved progress forward. His work was different from Piaget's ideas, which were about how each person's mind developed. Vygotsky says that society, language, and social relationships are very important to how people think and learn. Culture, in particular, is made up of publicly accepted behaviors, attitudes, and beliefs that are passed on through institutions, symbols, and language. Society both creates and shapes humans, and it has a significant impact on how our minds function and how we behave. As a part of culture, language makes it easier for people to talk to each other, guides behavior, and helps culture spread and grow. As we start this intellectual trip, we will look at the insightful work of Lev Vygotsky, a well-known psychologist and scholar. Vygotsky said that language is one of the most important factors in how a person's mind develops, and he found 3 steps that show how this happens: social speech, egocentric speech, and inner speech. These steps show how language is slowly taken in as a tool for thinking. Let us start with the first step: speaking in social situations. At this time, language is mostly used to communicate with other people. Babies and young children use social speech when they talk to their parents and other kids their age. Through discussion and conversation, they learn words, understand ideas, and learn about the world. As children talk to each other about their thoughts and ideas, their social world gives them direction, feedback, and building blocks. This contact helps them get smarter and sets the stage for their future language development. Now, let us move on to the second step, which is talking about yourself. During this stage, kids often do things that might seem like self-talk, but it does something very important. Egocentric speech is a developmental stage in which children put their thoughts into words and use language to control their actions and figure out how to solve problems. Children can organize their ideas, plan their activities, and solve problems by saying what they are thinking out loud. It is like they are saying what they are thinking. Egocentric speech lets them take an active role in their own learning and gives them more control over how they think. We finally get to the point of inner speech, which shows how language can be used as a powerful way to think. As kids get older, they start to talk more about themselves and less about other people. Inner speech is the name for the quiet thoughts that help us think, reason, and solve problems. With inner speech, we can change and think about our ideas, look at them from different points of view, and plan our activities in our heads. It is a secret conversation we have with ourselves that has a big effect on how we think and helps us solve hard problems. Vygotsky's stages of language and cognitive growth show how closely language learning and thinking go hand in hand. Language changes from a way for people to talk to each other to a way for people to think about themselves. It goes from being a way for people to talk to each other to a way for people to talk to themselves. The connection between language and thought is a fascinating field that keeps revealing new aspects of how people grow. In the context of education, Vygotsky's ideas show how the school system affects the cognitive development of children. Teachers and other important people in students' lives shape their attitudes, beliefs, and values by how they use words, how they talk about history, and how they act. Vygotsky disagrees with Piaget's idea that children come up with their own ideas, and he stresses the importance of social relationships in building knowledge. Vygotsky came up with the idea of the zone of proximal development, ZPD, which shows the difference between learning on your own and learning with help from an expert, usually an adult. This goes against the usual way of testing intelligence and shows that maximizing potential is a social process. Teachers are very important because they help students learn by building on what they already know, changing jobs, and giving help when it is needed. Vygotsky also stresses how important it is for students to learn by doing and to work together. Cognitive growth can be helped by working in small groups, getting help from peers, and getting to know the teacher better. But we need to make sure that peer support does not slow down or stop growth, which requires careful monitoring and help from the teacher. Activities that involve language are important for developing the mind, but it is important to remember that not all cognitive skills are best demonstrated through language-based thinking. Communication skills help make inner speech and thought processes clearer and more varied, but we should be careful not to generalize too much about these effects. Vygotsky's ideas have changed the way education is done. They have challenged standard teacher-led methods and made people think carefully about computer-based and distance learning programs. Even though Vygotsky's ideas have been criticized for not having any real-world proof or specific hypotheses to back them up, they still teach us a lot about how sociocultural factors affect cognitive development. They tell us that students are active participants in their learning process and that culture, social interaction, and cognitive growth all work together in a dynamic way.